All right, take a look at this. I want to show you some recent recruitment ads from the Department of Homeland Security, specifically ICE. This is the landing page on the joinice.gov website, featuring an image of Uncle Sam with the headline, "America needs you." It eerily reads underneath, quote, "America has been invaded by criminals and predators. We need you to get them out." As ICE attempts to boost its recruitment numbers, it's hitting social media with an ad blitz. According to 404 Media, DHS is also looking to run ads on streaming services like HBO Max and Hulu, and Uncle Sam was actually one of the milder ads. Here's another one featuring what appears to be a vintage ad for a van. The tweet says, "Think about how many criminal illegal aliens you could fit in this bad boy." And then the kicker, quote, "Want to deport illegals with your absolute boys?" Take a look at this ad, which reads, "Serve your country, defend your culture. No undergraduate degree required." How totally fun. Defend your culture and no undergraduate degree required. The immigration agency is lowering the bar when it comes to other hiring requirements, too. This week, the Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem announced that the agency would be eliminating the age cap for new hires, allowing people older than 40 and as young as 18 to join the ranks of ICE. And DHS is not only making it easier to become an ICE agent, but more financially attractive as well. The DHS website touts that prospective agents may be entitled to signing bonuses of up to $50,000, the possibility of up to $60,000 in student loan repayment, and a 25% premium pay. The recruitment push is working. We know it's brought in at least one new high-profile agent, the 59-year-old actor and vocal Trump supporter Dean Cain, who once played Superman on TV. He shared on social media that he plans to become an ICE officer to, quote, save America. Superman, a literal, undocumented alien, like an actual alien from outer space, from the planet Krypton, is now going to be an ICE agent. You cannot make this stuff up. Jokes aside, this drive to hire more personnel seems to be ideologically driven. ICE used to require employees to have an undergraduate degree. Not anymore. You don't really need any experience in law enforcement either. Apparently, you don't even need a uniform because so many of the arrests that we're witnessing are being carried out by masked plainclothes officers. COVID's on the rise, so maybe they're onto something, although, as I recall from a few years ago, the Trump administration was against the wearing of masks, but whatever. The only real requirements to becoming an ICE agent these days seem to be a beating heart and an alignment with Trump's deportation crackdown. Almost like he's building an army of sycophants. And he's got the money to do it. Trump's one big beautiful bill sets aside nearly $170 billion for immigration enforcement and border security efforts, including $75 billion with a B in extra funding for ICE specifically, making ICE the highest funded law enforcement agency in the federal government. Put this into perspective. ICE now receives more funds and resources than most national militaries. ICE is rapidly becoming the nation's largest domestic police force. Its size and power double that of the FBI. It seems like the Trump administration is building up ICE to be an alternative force that's bigger, more politically loyal, unencumbered by standards, and largely shielded from democratic accountability. All right, to discuss the rapidly expanding ICE force in America, I'm joined by Jason Stanley, a professor of philosophy at the University of Toronto and an expert in authoritarianism, propaganda, free speech, and democracy. Stanley is the author of numerous books, including Erasing History, How Fascists Rewrite the Past to Control the Future. I'm also joined by Radley Balko. He's an award-winning investigative journalist whose writing focuses on criminal justice, the drug war, and civil liberties. He's the author of several books, including Rise of the Warrior Cop, the militarization of America's police forces. Welcome to both of you. Hey, Radley, let me start with you. On one hand, this was kind of a joke. It's kind of funny when you see these ICE ads, but it's kind of not, right? I mean, it's a massive force, $75 billion for this force that apparently we need you to join, and you don't really have to have many qualifications at all. You got to just submit to that line at the bottom of the ad that says America is being invaded by predators and you need to defend your culture. This is weird stuff.
Yeah, I think it's dangerous stuff. I mean, if we look at, let's add all this up, right? I mean, you've got DHS that's putting out these social media posts that are studded with white supremacist themes and art that's been explicitly sort of used by white supremacists over the years. You have this appeal to not, defending your border or apprehending criminals, but defending your culture specifically. Yeah. And then you've got, an administration that a president who called immigrants, said immigrants poison the blood of the country. You've got Stephen Miller, a guy who has white supremacist ties. So you add all that together, and then you're recruiting people who are looking at these videos of ICE agents roughing people up, arresting grandmothers, apprehending children, apprehending U.S. citizens in some cases. And you're appealing to people who look at those videos and consider those ads and look at the appeal in those ads and what values those ads are appealing to. And you're saying that you're looking for people who look at all that and take it all in and say, that's what I want to do.
Yeah,
that's exactly how I want to make my living. And I would argue that almost all of those things should be disqualifying for anyone who wants to go into law enforcement.
Jason, the defending your culture part is one of the most troubling parts about this, because one doesn't need to compare us to Europe in the 30s. But actually one does when you think about things like this, because when authoritarians wanted to work around established police services who actually wanted to do policing, they said, hey, we can find sort of all sorts of people who'll take some money and some incentive and don't have to have many qualifications to do our bidding.
Yeah, my grandmother, in her memoir of 1930s Berlin, she left in 1939, speaks of leaning into the normal German police to protect herself and others from the Gestapo. ICE is looking more and more like an American Gestapo. Those of us who study fascism, those of us who study history, look for that moment when the sort of loyalist, quasi-violent, informal militia are going to be brought into the government. Now, of course, in the United States, as Radley Balko has shown, we've had that with a kind of militarized police force for quite some time. But this is very explicit. This is, if you buy into this ideology, we don't need we're going to pay you an enormous amount of money to be essentially the goon squad for the president. And let's be clear, we know also the moral injury here is real. Like, if you spend years of your life arresting little kids, dragging mothers away from their families, dragging hardworking fathers away from their families, that's moral injury. So you need a huge ideological cover for that. And that's what we see with this kind of vicious humor of these ads, this cover for people.
Radley, so there's two kinds of, Jason's talking about that moment where the ideologues get brought into government. There's also another moment in which people with a particular mission, like ICE, all of a sudden get drawn into a different mission. And we saw that. Donald Trump has announced that on Monday there's going to be a press conference at the White House about the rising disastrous crime situation, as he calls it, in D.C. And they said they're going to send in possibly the National Guard, possibly DHS, and ICE. Now, I don't know where the rising crime situation in D.C. suddenly became ICE's remit.
I mean, this is what happens, though. You get a force like this, particularly one that's going to be as devoted and loyal to Trump as he hopes, and that's explicitly the intent of these ads. They become sort of a private enforcement army. I mean, Jason can, attest to this more than I can when you talk about the history of fascism and authoritarianism, but it's a personal army. I mean, this is what Trump wants to do. I mean, there were also plans announced last week that Pete Hegseth's brother, apparently wrote up a memo outlining how the administration plans to send the actual active duty military into cities across the country. For most of my career, we have debated the extent to which domestic police should be militarized and the extent to which that's necessary and how we protect constitutional rights. We are so far beyond that debate at this point. I mean, we are explicitly assembling a paramilitary force for Trump. He has explicitly taken over the military. He's eliminated the JAG officers and the leaders of the Pentagon who know this history of fascism and authoritarianism and how important it is to keep the military out of civilian policing. Those people are all gone. The debate that we've been having for most of my career is gone. We are now, firmly into break the glass territory here.
Jason, and I want to use D.C., I want to continue to use D.C. as an example of the fact that they've taken a story and they've perverted it for certain other aims. I'm going to put up crime stats for D.C. Donald Trump is obsessed with D.C. It seems to me he's obsessed with controlling D.C. D.C. crime stats, percentage changes since 2020-24. All crime, down 7%. Violent crime, down 26%. Property crime, down 4%. and yet we're activating DHS, the National Guard, and ICE to go in and do something. It's not about fighting crime.
Of course not. And we can only do so much of pointing out how much the pretexts are all completely fake lies.
Right.
Like, how many years have we been doing this? How many years have you and I been doing this? It's obvious, like the attacks on these institutions are regularly done with completely fake pretexts. Donald Trump seeks to transform the United States into his personalist, autocratic fiefdom. It's moving incredibly fast. I'm actually concerned about these new ICE agents and the moral injury point. What they're doing is going to affect them for their whole lives. It's brutal work. You see the same structure that's being presented to them. You're doing this to prevent an invasion. So all of the horrors that you're inflicting on others are justifiable. But that kind of thing only lasts in someone's mind for that long. And the image of tearing someone's kids away, that lasts for much longer.
Sadly, we will have this discussion again. Jason Stanley is a professor of philosophy at the University of Toronto, and he's the author of the books Erasing History, How Fascists Rewrite the Past to Control the Future. Bradley Balco is an award-winning investigative journalist. He's the author of the book Rise of the Warrior Cop, The Militarization of America's Police Forces. Thanks to both of you.